I moved abroad partly because I thought lowering my cost of living would make it easier to dig myself out of nearly $200,000 in debt. But now housing is getting more expensive. The US dollar isn't stretching as far in Colombia. My income is nowhere near what it used to be. And I've started asking myself a question I really don't like to ask. Am I actually building my next chapter, or am I wasting time on things that aren't going to pay off? Because lately, money isn't the only thing this season has been exposing. It's bringing up insecurities I genuinely thought I had already worked through. So while I make dinner tonight, let's talk about it. After the morning after, after the night before. Y'all, I did not make it to salsa. I laid down to take a nap. Y'all, I bit my lip. I laid down to take a nap, and I woke up, and it was like midnight. And I'm like, and it was a little cold. I was like, I'm not gonna make it. Because I was supposed to be going to the botanical garden this morning. I'm still going, but I ain't make it. I laid down for a nap. And yeah, it was over after that. We're gonna try again next Friday. We're gonna try again next Friday. Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. So today has not been going how I originally planned for it to go, but it is what it is. I'ma just go with the punches, honey. And instead of going to buy some food, I decided that I'm going to cook. So I'm going to make homemade pico, and I think I'm gonna add some mango in with it, and then I'm gonna fry some chicken, but without flour. I like to fry my chicken without flour, and then make some mashed potatoes. So let me get everything out, child. Potatoes. I actually think I need to start with my pico first, so that can sit. Oh shoot, I hope I remember to add the cilantro into my order. Ooh, please, 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 please. Fuck. I forgot to add the cilantro into my order, y'all. And so only thing I have is, oh, I got some. I didn't think this was perfect. I already got some cilantro. I don't know why I thought this was something else, so it's good that I have this. So I had to buy some vinegar, some oil. Of course, I got me a Coca-Cola, honey. So we're gonna start with the pico first. I'm not gonna make a whole bunch because I don't have any Tupperware in the Airbnb to be able to save it. Yeah, I don't have any Tupperware. So instead of, are these limes still good? These ones aren't, but I did just get some new limes, so that's perfect timing. Baby, the thing is down here, the food goes bad faster, but I think it's because it's fresher. It's not as many like GMOs in the food that I'm buying. So today, instead of going out, I'm making dinner. And we're gonna have a conversation that I have been having with myself a lot lately, honey. This is about to be a jam-packed conversation. And before I even get into it, I want you to answer something for me inside of the comments. If you knew you could dramatically lower your cost of living by leaving your home country, but it meant being further away from everything familiar to you, would you do it? And if you already have done it, tell me whether it actually helped you financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, or not. Because I think there's this assumption that if you move somewhere cheaper, then naturally you're going to have more money. You spend less, you save more, you get out of debt faster, and everything works itself out. And honestly, I kind of had that same mindset. Except that has not exactly been my experience. I've been a nomad since the end of November 2025, and I can't believe how close it's becoming to a year, but we're going to talk about it. And while we're talking, I'm making dinner, and I'm going to show you how I've been making my homemade pico de gallo, because I've been making this all the time, honey. It's one of my favorites, and it's really simple. I have tomatoes, onions, cilantro, lime, salt, mangoes, okay, and then we're gonna have some chicken legs as well, and that's basically it. And I know some of y'all are gonna ask me for measurements as you see me making it. Baby, listen, just pay attention, because I ain't got them. I cook like someone's auntie, and I mean, I am somebody's auntie. I know it's enough when my spirit tells me it's enough. It's like the ancestors just come on down and be like, all right now, Moni. Okay, you getting close. Stop. But so what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be chopping all this up, finishing dinner, and we're going to talk about something that has been sitting heavily on my mind lately: money. And I know this is something that has been on the mind of other people as well, and I'm not the only one. And more specifically, what happens when you're carrying a lot of debt? Your income isn't currently matching the life you once had, and you thought moving abroad was going to give you enough financial breathing room to climb out of the hole. But then the hole is still there, and everything around you starts becoming more expensive too, because that is part of the digital nomad conversation that I don't think we talk about enough. Moving abroad can lower your expenses. This is correct. But lowering your expenses and actually creating wealth are two different things. And lately I've been realizing that I need to have a much bigger conversation with myself about that. So let's get into the elephant in the room, honey. Because if you've been here for a while, you already know that I have a lot of debt. Somewhere around $200,000 when everything is put together. A significant amount of that is from student loan debt. Then there's business debt. I'm going to post the link to the video down below for you to check out, and it'll actually be pinned inside of the video as well for you to check out. There are financial decisions that made much more sense during periods when my income was substantially higher. And I have already talked about this before and what it feels like to look at that number, because $200,000 is one of those numbers where paying an extra $50 somewhere doesn't necessarily make you feel accomplished. You're looking at the balance like, okay, that covered a little bit of the interest. It's like we moved from horrifying to slightly less horrifying. Wonderful. But what has really been interesting about this season is that I have had to separate two things that I think I use to unconsciously connect: my financial position and my compatibility. Because I've made money before. I've had 6-figure years before. I've built clientele. I've created things that sold. I've had businesses where I knew that if I put something out, people were going to get it. And that's just because of my track record, you know? I've experienced that version of entrepreneurship, so I know that I'm capable of generating income. And I genuinely believe there will come another season when my clientele is much stronger again. I believe there are people who haven't even discovered my work yet who will eventually become clients. I know it to be true. And I know there are programs I haven't created yet, books I haven't finished writing yet that I'm actually currently writing on, child. Pray for me. Ideas that haven't come to me yet, and opportunities that I cannot predict from where I'm currently sitting. And I believe and know all of that to be true. It has to be true. But the problem with entrepreneurship is that the electric company does not accept potential. It doesn't accept manifestations, okay? It doesn't accept just those subconscious shifts. I wish it did, but it doesn't. The student loan company doesn't accept, one day my clientele is going to be booming again. Your rent doesn't care about your previous 6-figure year. And your debt absolutely does not care about your vision board. There's the future you're building toward, and there's the bank balance that you have right now. You have to live somewhere between those two realities, and that's where I'm at, if we're being honest here. And y'all know I love to be honest, honey, in a world of people who want to appear to be perfect. And so part of my decision to live abroad absolutely came from wanting adventure. I wanted freedom. I wanted to see other parts of the world. I wanted to experience what life felt like when I wasn't organizing everything around the United States American routines. And after doing this for a while, I have learned that I genuinely enjoy living internationally. This isn't some punishment that I'm putting myself through because America is expensive. There are parts of this lifestyle that fit me extremely well. I love waking up and knowing that I'm experiencing a completely different culture. I love learning how people live. I love getting comfortable in a neighborhood that I have never even heard of, just a year ago. I love figuring out the grocery stores, the fruit, the transportation, the restaurants, the language, even though I've just been in, Spanish and Portuguese spaces. And that's enough for me, honey. But it's like in all of those tiny things that eventually make somewhere unfamiliar start feeling normal. I love that shit. And I love being near the ocean. That's one thing I've learned very clearly about myself. But we also have to acknowledge the financial part of this. Because when I looked at how much it was costing me just to maintain a regular American life, those numbers were ridiculous, honey. Housing, $1,800. Car payment, $300. Car insurance, $200. Utilities, $250. Groceries, $450. Student loans, $1,000. Everything. And that's not even including my business expenses that I have to pay every month to maintain my website and all of that, my platforms. Before you've even enjoyed your life, thousands of dollars can already be allocated. And I started thinking, what if I don't need to participate in all of that right now? What if instead of continuing to make more money just to maintain an increasingly expensive lifestyle, I lower the baseline cost of my life? That's one of the promises of geographic arbitrage. You earn in a stronger currency and live somewhere your money stretches further. And when it works, it really does work. You can sometimes live in a place that will be completely affordable to you in your own country. You may be able to eat better. You may be able to afford services that will feel like luxuries back home. You could sometimes rent an apartment for a fraction of what you pay in a major American city. There are real financial values in that. But there is also another side. Because, baby, the dollar doesn't always stay strong. And this is something I think people forget when they start making, those videos of like, you can live on $1,000 in Colombia each month. You can move to Vietnam and live on. Okay, at what exchange rate? Because currencies move around and the amount, my dollar converts into is not fixed forever. And recently, the Colombian peso has strengthened against the US dollar compared with some of the rates travelers got used to seeing in the past. And when you live here, you notice that shit. And I'm gonna be honest, I've been missing Brazil a lot. Okay, I've been missing that 5-to-1 ratio. You really notice all of this though when you're withdrawing cash. You notice it when you're looking at housing. You notice it when something costs the same amount in pesos, but suddenly you're spending more American dollars to get those pesos. And Colombia is also dealing with inflation of its own. So I think sometimes Americans have this idea that we can outrun inflation by changing countries. You can escape certain prices, but you cannot escape economics. The entire world is connected. Food costs change, housing costs change, currencies fluctuate, interest rates change, tourism changes communities, international investors move into markets, people with stronger currencies arrive, local demand changes. So yes, Colombia can still be considered more affordable than a lot of places in the United States, but more affordable than America does not mean nothing ever gets more expensive. They're completely different statements. And I have noticed housing becoming more expensive, especially short term housing, especially furnished housing in desirable areas that are near the water. And when you're someone like me who moves regularly, you don't necessarily have access to the same rental market as someone signing a traditional 1 year lease. You're looking for furnished, reliable Wi Fi. Sometimes you need utilities included, most times actually. And it's like you may only be staying 1 to 3 months. You're using Airbnb or another short term platform. You're participating in a different market, and that market can be expensive. So, I've been talking and neglecting. Okay? So let's, what I'm saying, y'all enjoying this Pico? The weird thing about being an American abroad, this is where the conversation gets more complicated because I can talk about how expensive America has become. I can talk about housing, I can talk about debt, healthcare, student loans. I can talk about how difficult it is for a single person to carry every household expense alone. And then I can say, so I moved somewhere cheaper. But somewhere cheaper for me does not necessarily mean cheap for the person who was born there. Yeah. That's something I think of those of us who live abroad need to remain conscious of at all times. Because I can look at an apartment in Colombia and think, oh my God, this is only $900. Meanwhile, someone earning a Colombian salary can look at that exact same apartment and think, who can afford that shit? But I do want to add in, I do rent from Airbnb versus just renting an apartment with a lease. So, of course, that number is probably going to be in half for those who have leases in those positions and places. But this is one of those contradictions of globalization. Capitalism moves very easily. Money moves, corporations, investors, tourists, digital nomads like myself, but wages don't equalize at the same speed. So, someone can earn American dollars remotely, move into a neighborhood in another country, and suddenly have purchasing power that is significantly higher than a person who works locally. Then enough people arrive with that purchasing power, and the market begins responding to what those people can afford. Rent increases, businesses adjust their prices, neighborhoods change, more short-term rentals appear, developers realize there is money to be made, honey, and so investors start buying up property. And the local person can slowly start being priced out of a community that was affordable before the outside money came in. I mean, hey, we saw that shit happen in America, but we'll save that for another conversation. I think we have to talk, we have to be able to talk about that without pretending every foreigner is some evil villain. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that me living in Colombia makes me personally responsible for Colombian housing prices. And that's for any country that I move to, that's ridiculous. But I am a part of an economic system. And when you live abroad long enough, you begin to see your place inside of that system. Because capitalism does not stop at the US border, honey. And one of the things traveling has complicated for me is this idea that we can simply escape capitalism by leaving America. You can't escape that shit, okay? I'm accepting that truth right now. The system is global. Different countries regulate markets differently. Different countries have stronger or weaker social safety nets. Different places have different labor protections. Different countries have different relationships between public services and private businesses. But the pressure to turn more and more areas of life into something that can generate profit exists all over the world. Housing becomes an investment asset. Healthcare becomes an industry. Education becomes debt. Attention becomes a product, baby, because attention is expensive. Our personal lives become content, our hobbies, our side hustles, our homes, our Airbnbs now. Our communities become destinations. Everything has the potential to be monetized. And what's especially interesting is watching what happens when this reaches countries where average incomes are much lower. Because if outside capital arrives faster than local wages increase, who benefits from that shit? The property owner might benefit from it, developer, the person who owns 5 Airbnbs might benefit, the restaurant serving tourists might benefit. There can absolutely be new jobs and economic activity. But the person earning local wages may also suddenly be competing for housing with somebody earning US dollars. So when Americans say everybody should just leave America and move abroad because it's cheaper, I understand that sentiment. Clearly, I understand it. Look where I'm at. But I don't think millions of people simply moving to lower income countries is a complete solution if we're being honest. That's just moving the pressure somewhere else. And eventually, the market notices that shit. It always notices where people are willing to pay more, and it starts shifting accordingly. And it's like there's a moral tension in this lifestyle. This is something I think about a lot because I'm benefiting from inequality between currencies. That's literally part of why geographic arbitrage works. If everything costs exactly the same everywhere, there wouldn't be an advantage. So there's this strange tension where I can be genuinely grateful that living somewhere like Colombia gives me a lower certain expenses while also recognizing, what feels affordable to me may be increasingly unaffordable to someone else here. And I don't think the answer is guilt. I don't think guilt does much of anything but cause stress, depression, and all that other extra shit that we really don't need to have, okay? And it's like, I'm not interested in performing shame every time I buy something because I happen to have been born in another country. But that awareness still matters, How are you interacting with the community? Where are you spending your money? Are you treating people like they're poor simply because their currency is different? Are you constantly trying to bargain somebody down from a price that you can easily afford? And I'm going to tell you now, I don't do that shit no more. I used to when I traveled for vacation, but I don't do it anymore. Are you complaining because something that used to cost $3 American now costs 4? Because sometimes I hear foreigners talk and I'm like, do you even hear yourself talking right now? There are people living here whose grocery bills went up too. Their rent went up, their electricity bill went up. They don't get to convert their salary into dollars and fly somewhere cheaper. So yes, I can acknowledge that the Colombian peso strengthening affects my budget. But the world isn't supposed to organize itself around preserving my American purchasing power. How selfish of me to feel. But that's something I have to remember, because still, I'm trying to get out of debt. And this is where personal philosophy eventually collides with reality. Because after I've had my thoughtful global economics conversation, I still have $200,000 in debt. I still need my income to increase. I still need to pay bills that I have, from my storage to my phone bill, my Airbnb, and my business bills every month. So now I'm having to ask myself whether I've spent too much time focusing on lower expenses and not enough time focusing on increasing revenue. That's the question that's been bothering me lately, because living abroad gave me breathing room, and I needed that damn breathing room, honey. But breathing room can become comfortable. You realize, okay, I don't need $10,000 a month to survive here. Maybe I could survive on $3,000. And initially that feels liberating. But if you have significant debt, surviving on $3,000 doesn't actually solve the larger problem. It just makes the problem less urgent. And maybe that is what has happened to me to some degree. Maybe living abroad made a slower income tolerable. That doesn't mean moving abroad was a mistake. I would make the decision again and again and again and again. But I am reaching a point where I have to say, okay, girl, we've cut the overhead. Now what are we building? Because I cannot coupon my way out of $200,000, honey. There's only so much pico de gallo I can make from scratch to offset some costs. Eventually, you have to make more money. And speaking of needing to make more money, honey, today's video is sponsored by a very prestigious company, honey. Lotus Core Solutions. Lotus Core Solutions is built around one central idea: reimagine and develop through transformation. Because sometimes you know the life you've been living no longer fits you, but you haven't completely figured out what comes next. Maybe you're changing careers, maybe you're rebuilding your relationship with yourself, or maybe you're trying to create something of your own. Maybe you've reached a point where the patterns, beliefs, or coping mechanisms that got you this far cannot take you into the next version of your life. That is the kind of transformation my work is centered around. And there are a few different ways you can work with me through Lotus Core Solutions depending on where you are right now. If you want something you can begin on your own, I created the 30-day Subconscious and Nervous System Reset Journal. It gives you 30 days of guided reflection and intentional practices designed to help you become more aware of the subconscious patterns you've been carrying while creating more space for the thoughts, behaviors, and responses you actually want to develop. If you want ongoing learning, community, and deeper professional development and personal, there's a Butterfly Effect School of Transformation, where we explore the subconscious mind, personal transformation, intuition, reinvention, nervous system work, and the deeper process of creating a life that reflects who you are becoming. And if you're ready for that work, I also offer private hypnotherapy sessions where we can go beneath the conscious understanding of a problem and work more directly with the subconscious patterns influencing the behavior, fears, beliefs, and decisions. You can learn more about all three at monaco.com. So check it. I've been a little scared to say this out loud. Not scared like something terrible is going to happen to me, the boogeyman is going to get me. But there's something uncomfortable about admitting it out loud because I've invested a lot of time into this channel. And I've been asking myself, is this channel wasting my time? Is this actually a good use of my time long term? Not the sense of do I enjoy YouTube, because I do enjoy it. Not do I like making videos, I do. I'm asking a business question. If I continue giving this channel the amount of time I currently give it, is there enough evidence that I can eventually produce the income, opportunities, audience growth, or business growth that would justify that time? Because creating videos, editing, recording voiceovers takes hours, and lately it's been taking me days. You have to live that experience first, then you have to film it. Then there are talking the pieces, like all of that, the editing, the thumbnail, titles, upload, analytics. It's like, and lately, views have went down. And it's like, I don't want to play the creator game. The creator game of, well, maybe my thumbnail isn't good enough. Maybe my title isn't good enough. Change the title, change the thumbnail. Maybe the title was good before, so let's change it back. Maybe the topic just isn't good. Maybe my audience doesn't know what this channel is anymore. Maybe I don't know what this channel is anymore. And after you've spent an unreasonable amount of emotional energy interpreting a graph on YouTube Studio, it's time to make the next video. That's the part people don't see. Opportunity cost is real. And you have to look at where you're investing your energy at. And we have to know when your income is high, you can afford to experiment more. You can tell yourself, I'm building for the future. But when your income is low and your debt is high, time has a different value. Because every 10 hours I put in a video are 10 hours I could have put somewhere else. I could have been writing another Nia Blue book. I could have been developing my school more. I could have been working on a program. I could have been marketing my private services. I could have been creating workshops, pitching something, building a program. I could have been building something with a clearer line to revenue versus spending all that time on a YouTube video that I make maybe $4 on. Yeah. Right now, my revenue is like $4 per video. And I'm saying that I'm finally forcing myself to look at opportunity costs, because as a business owner, that is very important. You know, what I am saying, like, am I saying no or yes to more videos? And I think that is a question a lot of people need to ask themselves, even if you're not a creator. Because sometimes we stay busy with the thing we're comfortable doing because it prevents us from having to find out whether we'd succeed at the thing that scares us. And being busy can disguise avoidance beautifully. You can work all day and still avoid the thing that actually matters. Because the internet can turn your passion into a performance review, honey. There was a time when I could create something and the creative act itself felt like enough. And then you monetize it. Now there are numbers attached. Views, watch times, click-throughs, subscribers, unsubscribers, conversations, revenue, super chats, cash apps. And capitalism has found us once again. Because somehow even creativity becomes productivity. Now I have to ask whether my thoughts are profitable, whether my life is clickable, whether my dinner has a strong enough hook, whether moving to Colombia is interesting enough, whether my loneliness is interesting. And I know a lot of people are going to say, you know, just do this. You have to understand the psychology of the mind. And as a certified hypnotherapist, the reality is that even the people who are just saying, like, you know, just create what you want to do, the things that they psychologically click on and watch is because they were attracted to it, because that person went through all of these steps to identify how can they best attract you. But hey, it's kind of bizarre when you think about it. Okay, it's kind of bizarre when you think about it, because we're living during a time when people are monetizing their existence, and hey, I'm participating in that shit. I feel like my life is pretty interesting. I don't know, y'all can let me know down below in the comments. Do you think it's interesting? You know, but I also feel like it's very incredible. Like, we're able to tell our stories without waiting for a network or a publisher to decide that we're worthy of being heard. That's powerful. But there is another side. You begin viewing pieces of your life through the question, can I make content out of this? And suddenly, your humanity has analytics once again. And this was a little insecurity inside of me that I didn't realize I had. And it's like life puts you into different situations and scenarios that allow you to see yourself for who you really are, especially the parts that you have tried to hide, or you just didn't want them to be seen publicly as much, you know? And I think anybody who knows me would probably describe me like in a way of being a confident person. You know, I've done too many things alone for me to believe that I fundamentally lack confidence. I've moved around the world by myself. I've changed careers. I've earned multiple degrees, started businesses, written books. I've walked away from relationships, walked away from opportunities that didn't align with me. I've shown up publicly. Hell, I've jumped continents. I've rebuilt my life more than once, more than thrice, actually. And there is evidence that I am confident, but this season is teaching me something I didn't understand before. Confident people still have some levels of insecurities. You can have a strong sense of who you are and still have wounded places. And sometimes those wounded places stay hidden because life has not created the circumstances necessarily, available to expose them. I think one of the wounds coming up for me is around being chosen. And I'm not talking about romantically. I'm talking about professionally. Being chosen by an audience, clients, opportunities. Hell, the algorithm, honestly. Entrepreneurship is strange, okay? It's a strange psychological experience because every day you're basically putting something in front of the world and asking, do you want this? Do you want this class? Do you want this session? This membership? This book? Do you want to watch this video? And if you've ever had any old wounds around rejection, abandonment, visibility, worthiness, being overlooked or feeling unseen, baby, entrepreneurship, will locate them and put them motherfuckers on blast. Okay, so definitely get comfortable with working through it, honey. Okay, but entrepreneurship is gonna dig through all of that, honey, and it's gonna have you deal with it. It's gonna have you sit with it and analyze it and better understand it. Anywho, let's go ahead and finish dinner. Get the pico from out the refrigerator, check out the food, all that jazz. Baby, I'm ready to eat because I know it's gonna be good, honey. It's gonna be good. But I think what I'm realizing is that my situation isn't actually as unusual as it sometimes feel. Other people are going through similar things. And I feel like I'm something like a mirror. So that's where I'm at. Right now I'm in Colombia making my dinner. The peso has changed. I'm in debt that I'm trying to, I'm working on getting out of. My income has shifted. And I'm evaluating everything. I'm evaluating life. And so I would love for you to subscribe, like, comment, share, hype the video, okay? As we continue along on this journey, I'm hoping that my vulnerability and openness is a help to someone else who may need to hear it and to know that they're not alone. And make sure to join our Discord server as well, where we get together, we chat, we talk, and all that jazz, honey. But with that being said, bye-bye.